Hello, I'm Jess, and today I'm joined by Jon Bawden, Testo's product manager. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Today, Jon's here to talk to us about Testo's Flue Gas Analysers, specifically the Testo 327 and Testo 300 Flue Gas Analysers. He's going to be running through the capabilities and applications of these Flue Gas Analysers, as well as their advantages. As ever, if we do miss anything, please leave questions in the comments, and remember to like and subscribe and share this video with anyone you think it might help. So as I've mentioned, you're here to talk to us about the Testo 327 and 300 Flue Gas Analysers. So could I just ask you to run through each model briefly? Let's start with the 327, please.
Yeah, sure. So the 327's been a workhorse within Testo range. It's not our entry-level Flue Gas Analyser. We actually have a device that sits below us, but it's our most popular analyzer that we sell in the UK. This covers both the classic testing requirements for flue gas and combustion values, but with this, you can also use the accessory probes, for example, to do your flow and return temperatures. You can also do your tightness and let-by testing, so it's pressure testing on the device. If you're an engineer using, for example, solid fuels, you can do a draft measurement. So it's a flue gas analyzer and a multi-function device for general boiler engineers.
Okay. And would you say that's an entry-level model or a mid-range?
It's mid-range, yeah. We do have a device in our range that sits below this. It's limited in functionality. It can only do flue gas combustion readings.
Okay.
This really is the first point where you've got the ability to do these other tests that are required. The tightness and let-by is a key one, and also the flow return temperature is something that people often want to do with the boiler as well.
And what sort of fuel types is it compatible with?
Okay, so covers all the main fuels in the UK, so natural gas, also your domestic oil.
Yep.
This will also cover wood pellets as well, butane, propane. So if it's somebody, for example, working on an area with bottled gas, they can also use this as a device for testing the boilers.
Great. And moving on to the Testo 300, just give us an overview of that one as well.
So 300 looks obviously a very, very different animal to the 327. Straight away you can see design is very, very different. This does all the same functionality as 327, so combustion readings, your tightness let-by, your flow and return, draft. So from a features point of view, it's exactly the same as a testing requirement in 327. Same fuels, again, same carryover. What's really unique about the 300, you can see it from the design, is this effectively has a 5-inch Andriod smart module, if you like, as the front end. So the user interface, 327 is very traditional in format, like a lot of other analyzers out there, has an LCD display. This, we believe, offers something very, very different to the market. It's the smartness that this type of Android operating system actually brings to a flue gas analyzer.
Yeah, intuitive functionality.
Yes, absolutely.
And so who would you recommend the Testo 300 to?
Okay, so there's two versions of the 300. 327, just rolling back to that one, is very much a domestic boiler engineer, whether that's oil or gas. 300 comes in two variants. There's a standard 300, which we would recommend for the domestic engineer. Yep. And then there's a 300 LL. And the LL in the Testo world actually stands for long life. Basically, that device has, the sensors are, if you like, beefed up for the commercial type boiler market. But also, more importantly, the LL has a auto dilution function. Okay. It's quite important. When you're talking about flue gas analyzer, its key aspect is it's being used for combustion readings. With any boiler, there's always the potential for a CO spike or a high CO level. Normally, that can be kiss of death to an analyzer, because if you basically take the analyzer to its maximum CO, you could be lucky and get it out into fresh air and do a rinse cycle and flush that CO out of the sensor. But in a lot of cases, the damage has already been done. Okay. With the LL unit, what we have is an auto dilution system. So on large commercial boilers and burners where a high CO spike can be problematic, the idea is it actually has a dilution system. So what happens is when it notices it's getting towards the maximum range of the sensor, a metered amount of fresh air is added into the measurement sort of flow, if you like, so it dilutes the readings that the sensor is seeing. That actually enables the LL version to read right up to 30,000 parts per million of CO, which is a very, very high capability for any flue gas analyzer.
Yes, it is. And we were just talking about the sensors, so could you tell us what sensors they're fitted with?
Yes, so both these devices have the classic two sensors. So that's an O2 sensor, also a CO sensor. So using those two sensors, we can then also derive the CO2 measurement. We stick with this sort of form of measurement. There's other analyzers out there who do it differently, but we believe the 2 sensor electrochemical sensors that are in these is the best way to actually do the combustion readings.
Why is that?
There are benefits. If you look at other technologies, sometimes if you're actually doing a measured CO2, you can actually be measuring on the wrong side, what's known as a stoichiometric curve, and that can then lead to errors. We believe this is a much safer method to measure the O2 and the CO and then derive the CO2 measurement.
Okay. And what about NoX sensors? Can they be fitted with NoX sensors?
The 327 can't. This, unfortunately, the design of it is maybe a little bit older now. That's only designed around a capability for 2 sensors. 300 different device because it's much more modern in design. This can actually have, it's got a spare slot in there for a 3rd sensor. So typically that would be adding, as you say, a NOx sensor, either for the domestic or the commercial guys, so they can actually measure the NOx values as well.
Is that the total NOx value?
So it is. With this sort of device, if you've only got a single NOx sensor, that's doing what's known as a calculated NOx measurement. There's 2 ways to do NOx, calculated and true measured NOx. Mm-hmm. To do true measured NOx, you need a NO and an NO2 sensor. Yeah. And then the total NOx is a combination of those 2 values. With a calculated NOx, what you do is you apply a fixed NO2 percentage in the instrument. You can actually input that. Then you measure the NO, and then you basically derive a calculated total NOx. For somebody who wants a true measured NOx, we can do it within the Testo range, but you need to be using the Testo 340 and upwards.
And if you were considering adding a NOx sensor,
yep.
What would you use your gas analyzer for? Which applications require a NOx sensor? Okay,
really at the moment it's probably only commercial guys who are really interested in NOx. NOx is obviously becoming a bit of a hot topic in some cities. We're seeing things like we're aware now of obviously lots of cities with congestion charging for vehicles, but there's also, particularly in London for example, there's already regulations in place for if you're putting a generator set or a large burner or boiler, mm-hmm. It has to be of a low NOx design because NOx is seen as a pollutant. So certainly the commercial guys are very, very aware of NOx at the moment. On the domestic guys, it's not so much of an issue. But if for some reason they are wanting to measure NOx, then obviously the 300 would be the initial point to go for.
And can we just quickly clarify what you mean by commercial and domestic?
Okay, so if you think about the size of a boiler, whether it's a small wall-hung domestic or a very large commercial, they have very different combustion effects, much more CO out of a commercial boiler. So it's all about buying the right analyzer for the job. For many, many years, we've seen people run up very, very large bills on a flue gas analyzer because it's not only about the initial purchase. With that flue gas analyzer, you have to have it serviced annually. Yeah. But also the electrochemical cells, they are, if you like, depleting as the analyzer's being used. And we've seen people run up very, very large bills over the years where they've been using the incorrect analyzer for the application. And the classic is people in the commercial world using a domestic level analyzer and then hitting lots of CO spikes because it's not really designed for that level of CO. Yeah. Then having to send the instrument back, they're then left without an instrument to use, potentially. They've got a bill for replacing CO sensors. It's all about buying the right instrument. If you've got a commercial burner or boiler application, then really something like 300 LL is the right design. It's maybe a slightly more expensive instrument to purchase initially compared to domestic, but your 5-year sensor life and the fact you can handle any CO spike up to 30,000 ppm means potentially your running costs overall over many years will be less.
So the domestic, we're thinking of like home boilers.
Yeah, most we would class a domestic boiler up to something around about 50 to 55 kilowatts. Okay. Once you start going above that, we really start to think of them maybe more commercial boilers. When we talk about the LL, we've got people using the LL analyzer up to 300 to 500 kilowatt boilers and even bigger, and not having any significant issues with CO spikes.
Obviously, accuracy is critical when analysing flue gas, but could you please explain to us why it's so important?
Okay. If thinking about how a boiler is being set up, the key things for an engineer setting any boiler up is the boiler safe? You've got to make sure that obviously all the products of combustion are being put through the flue. It's understanding of the measurement is being taken to guarantee that, but also it's the whole aspect of making sure the boiler is set up to be its most efficient. Yep. All the manufacturers will have recommendations on the settings that are expected from a boiler, and the accuracy on an analyzer is all about making sure that the boiler installation is safe and it's running at its most efficient, because obviously if the boiler is set up to be its most efficient, then the homeowner or the commercial owner of that boiler is going to be getting the lowest bills they can from that device.
And what are the consequences of inaccuracy?
Obviously, if the boiler is set up inaccurately, it could be that the boiler ultimately is not running at its most efficient. So there's a cost penalty there.
Yeah.
But also it's the whole aspect, if the readings are not correct, who's to say that that boiler is actually also not being set up in a safe condition?
Exactly.
So it's all about safety primarily and efficiency.
Exactly. Yeah. And how do you maintain flue gas analyzer accuracy?
Okay, so at the heart of any analyzer is its measurement cells. It doesn't matter what type of analyzer it is. Obviously, with the electrochemical cells that Testo use, they have a lifespan.
Yep.
Typically, on a domestic analyzer, they will last around 3 years, and then you expect your first set of replacements. On the LL analyzers, it's more like 5 to 6 years. Obviously, when it comes in for its annual service, it will be assessed. One of the things that we can do with our software is to make sure the sensors see what the state is, and then we would advise whether they need replacing. But it's all about making sure that your flue gas analyzer gets its annual calibration. We see a lot of analyzers, dare I say it, that come in outside of the 12 months. Bit naughty, it should really be every 12 months. You wouldn't expect your car, if you took your car back to a garage after 2 years of not having it serviced, you'd expect a big bill. It's the same with an analyzer. It makes sense to send it back every year, get it checked out.
And if someone wanted to get their flue gas analyzer serviced, what should they do?
Okay, several options. As a manufacturer, we've got the option. We can either offer you to send it back to Testo, but we also work through a number of partners, PARS being one of them, and they're approved service centres. The idea behind this, it gives you, the flue gas user, the flexibility. It may be much easier for you to use a local service agent than send it back to Testo, and it's that flexibility we like to offer to the market.
Great, thank you. And you can find all information about getting your flue gas analyzer calibrated at www.calibrate.co.uk. Right, okay, so can we talk about how data is displayed on the flue gas analyzers, please?
Yeah, sure. So on the 327, it's very much a sort of classic type display. So we have a multi-line LCD display. So you can see 4 lines of information at any one time. A little bit uniquely, we do give the engineer or the user the option of changing the sort of display order, if you like. When you speak to people, everybody has their own sort of way of working in a way. And whereas some other analyzers, you are locked in the format of how the information is displayed, with the Testo 327 or 300, you do have the flexibility to change the running order. For example, I always like to see the ratio as the top line, because it's one of the key measurements. You know, everybody, if they're installing a boiler, the manufacturer will probably give a baseline ratio figure you'd expect.
Which ratio is that?
So the ratio is basically the ratio of the O2, the oxygen, to the CO. It's displayed there. I then like to see the O2 value, and then the CO, CO2, and so on. So I have the flexibility in a Testo device to set that running order up as I like it. So 4 lines of information. If you want to scroll down and see more than the 4 lines, it's just on the 327, very simple. We have the scroll function, and then you can scroll down to see other information that's there. So yeah, 327, it's a 4-line LCD display with some adjustability for the parameters.
Yeah.
If we look at something like the 300, it's very, very different because we've got this Android operating system. Yeah. But again, even on this, we've got the ability to go in here, for example. I can go to measurement view, and here it actually shows me the current running order. So we can see here, ratio at the top, and I can very clearly just literally click and drag that down. So if, for example, the ratio isn't something that's important, I don't need it at the top, if I go to there and confirm, what we will now see is the ratio will move from there down. So very, very simple to really set the instrument up to have the view you exactly want. It might be you only want to show ratio, O2 value, CO, and no more. If that's all you need, you can remove all the other lines in there. You can always reinstate them at a later date. It's same on 327, but it's a very, very flexible way of actually getting the information that you as an engineer want.
Just makes it so much easier and quicker for you to do your job, doesn't it?
It does. And again, the 300 takes that to the next level. With the 327, if you want to go into the menu to do the other tests, so we were saying, as well as doing the flue gas combustion readings, it can do your tightness and net by testing or your flow and return temperature. With that, you have to go in, not into a menu, but you basically go back a step and request the test you want to perform. With the 300, much simpler. We have the little flame symbol at the top. And again, I've got a little drop-down menu there, and you can see it has all the standard tests the guys will need. So, for example, if I want to go to doing differential temperature, I just click that. The screen will actually change to suit the type of test I'm going to do. So 300, it's really this really great, smart, intuitive Android front end that gives us a little bit of an edge on how the user works with the device.
Yeah. And the data that's displayed on there, is it also displayed in the app?
Okay, good point. So 327 doesn't have any connectivity to the app. It's a little bit showing it's at its age now, it doesn't have Bluetooth. That's why really we're showing the 300 as being, if you like, the instrument of both now and the future. And you can see here, we've got it connected to the app in what we call second screen mode. So this is the standard Testo Smart app. This is a fairly new update we brought out about 12 months ago. So the 300 can now talk to the app in what we call second screen. So what happens, this is always the master device, but this is giving you the option of having a second screen of the results. And where this becomes really useful is for something like a commercial engineer, where often the sampling point could be quite further away from where he's actually doing any adjustments, maybe on a burner. So with a traditional instrument, he might be having to go backwards and forwards, look at the readings on his analyzer, do some adjustments, go back and see the results. With this, what he can do is, you can see here, we've got the screen showing the combustion readings. We've got exactly the same mirrored on here. So he can set this instrument up at the sampling point, take his mobile phone or tablet with him to wherever the burner is, do the adjustments live and be getting the information live across. So it's the ability to have that second screen of information. And obviously also within the smart app, we can now also report on this. So we can save these readings, put them into a report and email that as a PDF to the client.
So can you also use the app as like a remote control? If you needed to adjust some?
To a certain extent, it's not so much a remote control. If there's a start and stop button on here, but basically that will actually start the pump running to do the actual analysis. So you can actually have some form of remote control back to this to tell it to stop the pump, but this is always the master device. All your main settings are really always done in here. This is really a second screen option.
And it's got reporting capabilities as well.
It has. It's quite an interesting one to talk about, because when we talk about reporting, you've got, in the UK, often people are looking for a standardised landlord certificate or a gas safety certificate. Our app isn't designed around that. Our app will actually generate a basic report with combustion readings or differential temperature readings, but it is very much in a standard Testo report format. So that would be things like your company logo would be on there, your customer details could also be on there, but it's if you like, a standard Testo format report. If you're somebody who's wanting a UK standard landlord certificate or gas safety report, what we've done is, rather than work inside our app, we actually partner with a couple of the third-party apps that are out there. And what you can do is those third-party apps will actually pull the data from the 300 and put it into this proper UK digital certificate. So if you've got somebody who's really looking to go completely paperless and is really liking the idea of the standardised UK digital certificates, you can do that, but via some third-party apps that work with the Testo 300.
It's really flexible. And the smart app, it can be used with more than just the flue gas analyzers.
It can, yeah. So obviously the smart app, we've spoken before. The key sort of introduction to smart app was when we first brought the smart probes out. So these are, you may have seen these before, very simple measurement devices. They basically just use Bluetooth, no screen on themselves, and these talk to the app. So it turns your smartphone or tablet into a really clever measuring system. So for example, these have been used for many years by heating engineers. The classic is to do 2 clamps to do flow and return, or maybe across a radiator where you're balancing a radiator. And these can be used simply with the app. What we've also got with the 300, and this is some functionality we introduced again about a year ago, is the smart probes now also talk to this as a device. So for example, here we can see on the bottom of the screen, I've actually got my 2 clamp probes here showing my flow and return temperatures. And I've also got the Testo 510i, which is our digital manometer for gas pressure. So what we've now got the capability of is getting these smart probes, rather than having to connect to the app, they talk to the 300. And then the 300 is talking to the app. What this really means is, for an engineer, is you can have your combustion readings, your flow and return temperature, and your gas pressure from maybe the gas valve all on the screen at one time. So it's a really powerful measurement system. Rather, if we look at the 327, you'd have to do that across multiple tests. This is all these measurements on screen at the same time.
That's really good, because we often hear from like plumbers and gas engineers who get frustrated that tools don't integrate with each other, but that is not a problem here.
No, it's one of the real things we're trying to really promote with Testo. It's smart probes, smart analyzers. It's thinking about maybe a smarter, different way of working. It's about harnessing the power of instruments talking together and then talking to an app to gather all this data very, very simply, very quickly, but more importantly, it's digital reporting. So it means that the information that people are giving to clients and customers is correct.
So we've just been talking about the smart probes. Are any of the flue gas analyzers supplied with smart probes as part of the kit?
Okay, so with the 300, we now supply this as what's known as there's various kit options, but one of the best-selling ones now is what was known as our Smart Kit. So with the Smart Kit, you effectively get the analyzer, obviously the sampling probe, but you also, more importantly, get the 2 clamp probes to do your flow and return, and you also get the pressure probes to basically do gas pressure testing. So the Testo Smart Kit really has become probably the #1 seller within our range now, because more and more people are looking at the benefits that this whole system can give.
And are there any kit options for the 327?
Yeah, so 327 is available. Obviously, it doesn't have any connectivity to smart probes, but there are 2 kits available. There's what we know as a standard kit and an advanced kit. Standard kit is just the instrument, the actual sampling probe, the case and a charger.
Yep.
The advanced kit, which again is the more popular one, bundles a set of probes that can be plugged into the device to do flow and return.
Yep.
Also a pressure adapter so that people can do the tightness and let by testing. So really the benefit of going to the advanced kit is it gives you that extra measurement capability straight out the box. Yep. You could always buy the standard kit and then buy the accessories, but it makes more sense from a cost perspective if you look at the difference between the 2 kits to buy the advanced kit with those bits initially, because you get a cost saving.
And is that true of the Testo 300 Smart Kit as well?
It is as well. You can buy just a very basic 300 analyzer non-smart, but it makes much more sense if you buy the kit with the smart probes. You're getting an advantage every time.
Yeah. And what about warranty? What kind of warranty did the Testo Flue Gas Analysers come?
So standard warranty on the instrument, on the sensors is 3 years.
Okay.
On the electronics is 2 years.
Right. Okay. Is that true of the...
And it's the same as the 327, yes.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the move away from fossil fuel heating systems, because currently the government has plans to ban new gas boilers in new builds, and then there's going to be a further ban on new gas boilers in 2035. So considering that and this phase out of gas boilers, why should anyone purchase a Testo Flue Gas Analyser or any flue gas analyzer?
It is a very good point. We are seeing a changing landscape in the UK heating market. There will obviously be boilers around for many a year yet, but you're right, the government is looking to phase out wherever possible new built boilers. So what are the options? We are going to see, no doubt about it, heat pumps are being pushed as one of the potential options. We may also be seeing hybrid heat pumps, which combine a heat pump with a very small combi. Now, if you're talking about a hybrid, there's still going to be an aspect of gas and gas burning there. So a flue gas analyzer will still be part of the requirement. If we go to a straight heat pump, if it's something like a basic monoblock, an engineer is going to need no more really than a couple of clamp probes, because the only thing he can really do is not going to be breaking into a refrigerant circuit. So it's flow and return, possibly something like the compressor current. If it's an engineer who's looking to really sort of gear himself up now, there are several options. We've just launched a Testo 300 kit, which is basically bundling the flue gas analyzer and the smart probes and one of our Testo 550i smart block manifolds.
All right.
The idea is in that kit, he will be completely equipped for boilers of the future, heat pumps of the future, whether that's a monoblock or a split. So it's really having that ability to have, if you like, instruments for both sectors. It's, again, as a company, we're a German manufacturer, we've been aware of heat pumps for 30 plus years. They might be new in the UK and be seen as the sort of new kid on the block, but we've been supplying the test equipment for heat pumps for many a year, and we've already got a very in-depth range of products. But what we're trying to do is either look at bundles, where we're bundling up products for an engineer who's going to need both. We've looked at, is there maybe the potential in the future to have an all-in-one instrument? I don't know about that. The problems that it means if the engineer sends that one instrument away, he can't do either boilers or heat pumps. Right. We think the flexibility at the moment is really to have something like our new 300 smart heat pump kit, where you've got the 300 for your boilers and you've got the digital manifold for your heat pumps, and it really gives you that combination.
Especially now we're in this long transition phase.
Exactly, and nobody really knows quite what's happening at the moment. There's a lot of changes going on.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So just to recap, could you quickly summarise the differences between the 327 and the 300?
Yeah, okay. So from a testing perspective, they both do the 5 main tests. So if you think about it, it's your flue gas or combustion readings. They'll do your tightness and let by testing. They'll do differential temperature, so flow and return. They can also measure differential pressure across something like a pressure switch if needed, draft measurement if you're somebody who's working with solid fuels. So 5 main tests that you're likely to come across in the UK. Both devices do that. The real difference is in the smart front end of the 300 and its digital reporting capabilities. With the 327, if you need to do any form of reporting, you are limited in that it can only connect to a, if you like, traditional printer where you have the printed results. Obviously 300, if you wanted a printer with the 300, maybe you're somebody who still uses printers and you believe that's the way you're going to be working, you can get a printer that works with it's actually a Bluetooth printer. But we really believe the 300 is, if you like, pushing the forefront of this smarter front end with its Android operating system, connectivity either to the smart probes or the Testo app. And it's about bringing all these instruments and potentially things like the manifolds we were talking about for heat pumps all under, if you like, one common connectivity umbrella.
Yeah, it does seem to be really focused on future-proofing and flexibility. Would you agree?
Absolutely. You know, a Flue Gas Analyser purchase it's an important investment. People, when they're doing the sort of homework, it's thinking about, obviously it's not just about purchase costs, it's about service pricing. You've really got to think about what the instrument is going to bring to you as a user, and the benefits it's going to bring to you, maybe in better workflow, more accurate reporting, digital reporting, and important decisions to be made.
So what would you say is the USP of Testo's Flue Gas Analysers?
Okay, I think we're very proud of our German heritage. You know, we're all about the build quality. If you look at the design, you know, powerful magnets, easy to drain down condensate trap, obviously lithium-ion batteries in both devices, obviously smart screen as well on the 300, but sometimes it's some of the little overlooked details. For example, one of the really critical bits of any Flue Gas Analyser is your sample that you're bringing down from the sample point to the instrument, making sure that whole pathway is gas tight at all times. Because if it's not, you're going to be introducing excess air. It's going to make your readings incorrect. We're one of the few manufacturers that's really got a properly engineered solution to the connectivity. What we have on the device is effectively a locking bayonet type connector. You can see that locks on very securely. That's not coming off. It's not a hose that just pushes on. That's bringing down both the gas pathway, but more importantly, that's also bringing down the temperature measurements. So in the flue probe, you have a thermocouple, which is your flue temperature measuring device. A lot of other analyzers, they bring that down on a secondary connection, which is a little plug that plugs in, very prone to breakage. It's, you know, can be a little bit flimsy. We've got all that integrated into a single locking connector. So that one connector brings down the gas pathway and your thermocouple. We believe it's little details like that that really sets out, you know, our design heritage and thought about the reliability of the Flue Gas Analyser.
Yeah, that's really practical because that's really secure.
Yep.
Okay, and so following on from that, how will investing in a Testo Flue Gas Analyser benefit the end user?
Okay, hopefully things like the build quality feed into it lasting a long time. 327, for example, I know many people who've got 327s out there that are probably up to 10 years old. It's a proven product. It's having that inherent build quality that gives you long life, and long life hopefully is going to give you reduced bills over its lifespan. Things like our fixed price service schedules as well, available through both ourselves and our partners such as Pass. That's all about controlling the life costs ongoing of your calibration.
Great. Is there anything else you think we should know about the Testo 300 or 327 Flue Gas Analysers?
I think the 300 is one I'd really focus on. I just think this Android operating screen gives us a really flexible front end. Anybody who's had to use a Flue Gas Analyser, we're used to using smartphones nowadays, and the fact that we've got this, easy interaction with the device, whether it's via the swipe gestures, even being able to make the actual screen physically larger just by a simple swipe. It's all about this really clever front end that makes this, if you like, the instrument of the future.
And if you were to sum up the Testo Flue Gas Analysers in 3 words, what would they be?
Smart, obviously smart through connectivity, robust from construction as part of our heritage, and flexible. The fact that we cover all the main testing that's required, but also more importantly, if it is somebody like a commercial engineer, we do a LL version, for example, that is designed around their commercial requirements. So we're not about one Flue Gas Analyser fits all. It's about having the ability to pick the right Flue Gas Analyser for the job.
Great, thank you. So thank you for speaking with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jon will be joining us again in future episodes to discuss more of Testo's products, so please look out for those videos. If you did like this video, please remember to like and subscribe and share it with anyone you think it might help. All information about Testo's Flue Gas Analysers, including the 300 and 327, can be found on our website, www.testo.co.uk.